What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what moved in, go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 0.43%. So oddly enough, it did lag. During the pre-market, things were looking pretty a-okay. But unfortunately, once the market did open, it just went straight down. So I'll go over that and what caused that. But 27.65 the low, 28.71 the high, and a lot of volume. So 84.2 million shares being traded, 66 is the average. And there were some very weird transactions today, all of which kind of caused SoFi to move higher. One was after hours and one was roughly around, I think it was about this period, give or take. So it caused that nice spike. So oddly enough, you had a lot of big money buying, even though SoFi did close in the red. Nothing concrete from SoFi today, so no SEC filings, no press releases. You did have the market somewhat digesting the FOMC minutes, and normally, like, this isn't that big of a market mover, but we did have in the minutes a lot of big things that was stated. So I kind of made notes right here. So it looks like the majority agreed that unemployment risks are growing while inflation pressures have eased or aren't worsening. So it looks like they're supporting more cuts. And so we did see, as a byproduct of that, for the October 29th meeting, a 92.5% likelihood of a 25, and then on the December 10th meeting, a 79.7% likelihood of a following 25 basis point cut. So definitely good to see, and most likely, as long as we get some more negative labor data next round, then most likely the market will start to fully price in a 25 basis point cut for the October 29th meeting. Aside from that, though, you did have a couple members really wanting a 50 basis point cut the last round. So unfortunately, didn't really get that. Yeah, oddly enough, do still have a few members still wanting to pause just to monitor inflation. So you kind of have mixed. Consensus, though, is more cuts are going to be coming. So that's what really gave the broader market a nice boost higher. During Power Hour, you did see a little bit of a pullback right here, not just with SoFi, but a lot of other stocks. And that's just because of the big bad Powell is speaking first thing tomorrow. And we always have those kind of sell-offs because it's like a smoking gun. Anything can happen and you never know. You could just say good morning and then the stock price, everything just goes down. So I don't know. People like to take profits going into Powell, and honestly, kind of makes sense in some cases. Aside from all that, though, you do have Trump talking about EU trade deals. And so I think that's going to be coming up soon. And I believe that it was paused up until the first week of November, if I remember correctly. There's so many different, I guess, deadlines and stuff, so I'll have to double check on that. But that was coming out. I don't really believe that moved the market all that much. And then you do have Anthony. He's not really posting all that much, but rather he is commenting and reposting other people's due diligence, such as SoFi Insider, so instant transfers between checking and savings accounts, and also SoFi Investor now available. So good stuff. There's a lot of big updates that have been happening, none of which that have been publicly announced. So I don't know if they're doing that on purpose or if they are waiting for, let's say, their upcoming earnings just to kind of unveil and open up Pandora's box and list everything that they have done for crazy updates. But this is something I know a lot of people were really wanting and kind of complained that SoFi didn't have this. So good to see that SoFi is updating constantly, and Anthony as well is very active on social media. Looking at shorts, they did increase 623,000 shares. 9.9% of the free float is being shorted, which works out to be 117 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum is negative as per usual, so that does mean that brokers out there are paying people to short SoFi. Looking at the options, we had a good amount, not compared to, for instance, yesterday, but we had 75 million in calls, 9.5 in puts. 44% of all the options being done were bullish in nature. So despite it closing in the green, you do still see a certain level of optimism. And from a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be around that $30 range by this upcoming Friday. So that's pretty kick-ass. Bears, on the flip side, they are anticipating for it to be sub kind of between that $27 and $28 range. So the fact that we are pretty much there. It does show that there's a lot of upside. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there was some very abnormal transactions. No different than actually yesterday. There was a couple big ones, but what happened today blew that out of the water. So these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. So 29.4, and you can tell based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price, that was a buy. This one right here, 15.8, that was a sell. So that was the culprit on why it did go down, unfortunately. Why they sold, I'm not really sure. But nonetheless, we had 2.6, 1.9, 1.9, 1.3. But some of the transactions on the dark pool, this is crazy. So 250.9 million. So feel free to pause this, look at the timestamp, but ultimately whoever did buy 9 million shares of SoFi at 27.88 caused a nice push higher. So they were the culprits on why SoFi recovered for the most part. So even though today we didn't have that crazy price action or any sell-offs, but they did prompt a nice push higher. So someone bought 9 million shares. Also, after hours, there was another purchase for 6.1 million shares. So $171 million, 4.6, 4.6, 2.7, 2.2. So a lot of big transactions. And as I've mentioned in the past, I'm just orienting based on premiums. So highest down. So yeah, I don't know why. Maybe someone knows something. In my opinion, even aside from SoFi, someone always knows something ahead of time. So this might be a good sign that maybe some news might be coming over the next couple of trading days. So hats off to Anthony if he drops crypto before their earnings. That would be pretty amazing. But with it closing at 28.02, it did close between this R2 and this R1. 27.68 is that strong support, and it kind of bounced off of that general area. 28.58 is that next strong target / resistance. It did break past that, but didn't really have enough to stay there. So that's going to be another kind of key point to watch for tomorrow. So 28.58, and then if it's able to get above that and stay above that, then 30.03. Aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart, still above the 10-day moving average. Even though we did consolidate a little bit, still a lot of good momentum. Nothing crazy for any ratings or any articles, no new analyst ratings or anything either. So it was just largely because of the technicals and because of all of this crazy push lower to that 50-day moving average. You do have the stochastic RSI. It's kind of moving up a little bit, but still largely oversold. So again, that could really help going forward into the next couple of trading days. And as long as Powell isn't all doom and gloomish tomorrow, then you should see a very nice recovery with SoFi and a lot of stocks out there. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. What do you think is the reason why we had some crazy transactions yesterday as well as today? Do you think it's just last minute institutions doing rebalancing that they didn't do at the tail end of Q3, or do you think it's something else? Obviously, we've seen a lot of Easter eggs, and on a side note, I still plan on doing that video, but we've seen a lot of potential partnerships where it would be helping SoFi for crypto. Maybe some entity or entities are buying into SoFi to have a stake. Makes sense. I don't know. What's your viewpoint on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.